I was a little worried that he would feel neglected. That's another thing I mentioned about sleep training my daughter. I just let her cry longer than I should have, in my opinion. The method that we had chose before was more of like the cry it out, and I have since changed my mindset on that, and I don't really agree with it. So I was just like, that's why I think I erred more on the side of not letting him cry at all. Because I didn't want him to process like a neglect of like, I'll stop crying because I know my mom's not gonna come, so like what's it worth? That was sad. And like with Reagan, we luckily learned very early on into the sleep training, I think she was a couple months old, that could be processed as neglect and could be toxic stress on her body and her brain. So we stopped like doing that altogether. And I'd already had a hard time with it. Like it just felt unnatural to like let my child just cry until she stops, or the limit that they gave us for crying, which was really long for a newborn. So I was just worried about that. I was also worried that I couldn't handle it, and I couldn't. So we'll get to that part in the video later, but yeah, I was just like, I can't, it's too much for my mama heart. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is a beautiful day. We actually have the sun shining. It's like above freezing here in Colorado. Like, I don't remember the last time it was this warm. Like, we've had a bunch of snow, and I wake up and there's more snow, and I'm like, great, I don't think this is ever gonna melt. But you can kind of see like outside where, yeah, it's starting to melt today. But anyways, can you tell I'm ready for spring? Wearing my little pastel pink jacket. I'm so over this weather. It's been so freezing. I got a freaking cold sore on my lip. It looks like I have like a zit or like a mole. It's super annoying. It won't go away. Winters are kind of brutal out here, but I mean, I can't complain when we see the sun. Anyways, that was a side note. Today's video is all about how I got our 5-month-old to start sleeping through the night within 5 nights. How is that possible? In this video, I'm gonna cover like what I was afraid of, why I didn't sleep train until 5 months, and then also why I did end up sleep training. So we'll get into all of that. But anyways, just wanted to say welcome back to my channel. Thanks for being here. If you like this video or you think it's helpful, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and then also go check out my Instagram. I'll leave the handle down below, but go check out my Instagram where there's more daily content and you get to see just like more day in the life, which seems like that's what you guys like watching, is more the day in the life based on my view history. Today's video is just gonna be more like sit down chat, and I wrote like some notes here and I'll go through like everything sleep training related. So if you're interested in sleep training, this video is for you. If you know somebody who has a baby who's on the fence, this might be a video you want to share with them. But anyways, also a disclaimer, you do not have to sleep train your child. This sleep training might not be for you, and that's okay. It definitely worked for me and my family, but do what works best for your family. So I guess I should start by saying that we did decide to sleep train at 5 months. With my daughter, we ended up sleep training like basically from birth. She was in the NICU for a month, so like as soon as she came home, we like started sleep training. And the doctor had said like once she's reached her due date, then you know we don't have to wake her up to feed her. So definitely if you're thinking about sleep training, like talk to your doctor, make sure that there's no reason that you should be feeding them in the night, all of those good things, like make sure they're gaining weight. But we got the go ahead, so we started from birth. And that actually is my whole experience with sleep training Reagan was kind of why I was hesitant to sleep train Sawyer at all, or just this early. I had learned a lot since having my daughter just about brain development and like how babies process information in certain situations, etc. I was super hesitant because I needed a lot of reassurance to start sleep training. Like I needed to get pushed to do it, just because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't causing any toxic stress or neglecting my child. I didn't want their brain to be processing like anything about that. So that was actually a big hesitancy that I had with sleep training. We chose to do the ABCs of sleep. So if you're not familiar, look up Taking Care of Babies on Instagram. That's where I found her, but she has a program, ABCs of Sleep. It's been around for a long time. Essentially, it's like the Ferber method of sleep training, where you let them cry for 5 minutes, check in, 10 minutes, check in, 15 minutes, check in, and then 15 minutes, so on and so forth, until they stop crying. Now, I understand, you're probably like, your heart may have just dropped. You might be thinking, what if they never stop crying? You might be like, whoa, I don't think I'm comfortable with that. I thought all of these things, so totally understand. I had really liked with sleep training that there was like a guide. I could follow these steps, I could do these things. I just needed something that was a plan, because if I just like went off of my gut, I would have been responding every 30 seconds to a cry. I would have just been feeding him all the time, which that's kind of like why we were in this predicament in the first place, because I just was feeding him every time he cried because I felt like that was the only thing that would work, and I thought he was hungry. Then it started becoming a crutch, and then he would not sleep without being fed. It was really tough. And that was only at night. Like during the day, totally different. But at night, he was starting to wake every like 2 to 3 hours. So if I went off of my feelings and my like intuition, I guess you could call it, I don't think I could have ever gotten him sleep trained, which is why I wanted to plan, and which is why this worked for me. And it just, I had to remind myself, like, go back to the manual. What does it say to do? And it will work, and just keep telling myself it will work. So things that I was afraid of before I sleep trained was the crying. I'm very easily triggered by crying. I can't handle hearing him cry. I just feel like, oh my gosh, he is gonna, like, he needs me, I'm his mom, like, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I was afraid of how much crying was gonna be coming. Second thing, that he'd be hungry. I think we all have that feeling, like once in a while with babies, like, are they eating enough? And when you're exclusively breastfeeding, like, you don't really know how much they're getting. So I was just worried that he'd be hungry in the night. And so that's another thing I should mention. We weren't only just sleep training, we were having to drop night feeding. So it was like a double whammy, and it was all at once, and I was terrified. Yeah, I mentioned the brain science a little bit, but I have learned a lot about it, and so I was just hesitant about making sure he was developmentally ready. So, okay, why we did it. I honestly thought we would never sleep train again, but I was at my wit's end, to be honest. Like I said, I was feeding him every 2 to 3 hours overnight, sometimes sooner, on really bad nights. And it just was not sustainable. Like, I was starting to go crazy. I was getting really stressed and overwhelmed. I had to be able to function during the day. Sam and I were still alternating nights of sleeping upstairs and like being the ones to wake up and feed him. But it was just, I was really struggling on the nights that I had to be up. I just need more sleep. Being an HSP, if you don't know what that is, it means highly sensitive person. It's a real thing, look it up. Maybe I should do a video about it. But anyways, being a highly sensitive person, I am very affected by sleep and the amount of sleep that I get, and it needs to be consistent, and I need like 8 hours of sleep. That sounds really dramatic, but like if you've ever been a parent, you know you're operating on more of a survival mode when you're not getting enough sleep versus when you do get enough. It's just a game changer. So anyways, the doctor also reassured me that he was developmentally ready, and I just wasn't ready yet. And so she was like, yeah, you know, at 4 months their brains can be ready. Definitely by 6 months they can process like the concept of self-soothing. So she recommended the whole Ferber method, whatever, and that definitely gave me the push to why I started doing it. And then also, I remember that it did work with Reagan. Like, at the end of the day, she was a really good sleeper. She still is sleeping like 12 hours a night, uninterrupted. So I was just hopeful, like I knew sleep training worked, but I was a little skeptical with the whole dropping of night feedings, that it would just not work. So, but I just was like, I need this push to do it. And then my husband, he was like, I'm gonna do it, I'm ready. Whether you're ready or not, I'm ready. Like, I'll just do it. You can sleep in the basement because you can't handle hearing him cry. Like, I'll just do it. And so we planned when we would do it. We had like a couple really bad nights back to back where he was starting to feed like every hour, and I was like, can't do it. At this point, he's deciding he needs it, and I kind of felt bad for him. Like, I felt like he wanted to sleep and we were causing him, we were interrupting him, we were feeding him, and it just was causing like such a disruption to his sleep patterns. And I just felt like he would be happier, we would be happier, everyone would be happier in the house if we just would sleep train him. So we did. It was like a middle of the week. Usually I'd be like, oh, we'll start it on Monday, we have the weekend to prepare. No, it was like cold turkey. I woke up on a Wednesday and was like, can't do it, we gotta sleep train this guy tonight. And so I just said, you know, tonight's the night. Sam was all for it, he was ready for it. Sawyer had just turned 5 months. We were comfortable with that, so it was like, cool, let's do it. We read through the manual, had our plan together, and then, oh, I forgot to mention, it wasn't that just that like he was waking up like every 2 to 3 hours, like in the middle of the night, right? Like we would put him to bed at 7 and he would wake up sometimes at 8 or 8:30. He always woke up by 10:30, like no matter what, it was like on the dot. Even if we did a dream feed, we started doing dream feeds at like 9:30 p.m. when like I wanted to go to sleep. I would go in, pick him up, feed him a little bit, or we would just give him a bottle in the crib. It did not work. He still woke up at 10:30, whether that was like a half an hour later. So that was rough. And he would wake up like multiple times before midnight, and then so on and so forth. Once he woke up the first time, it was like every 2 to 3 hours around the clock. So the first night of sleep training, like probably around like 9:30, he woke up crying, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, it starts now. Like, I didn't want to be a part of this. I didn't want to hear this. Like, Sam had the monitor, we were just hanging out in the basement, and I was like, I cannot like handle this. It's just, I'm gonna hear it. Like, I had to go in a different room, turn on some music or something so I could not hear him crying, because it was just so triggering. And like, my body like literally started to react, like my heart rate was up. Needed to chill. Needed a little chill pill. So anyways, night 1, he cried, and that first whole like crying episode lasted at least an hour and a half, I think almost 2 hours. So it was a long time. And Sam did the check-ins, 5 minutes, you go in and check in. It's called a pop-in, only for like 20 to 30 seconds. Maybe it's like 15 to 20. It's short, let's just say that. And then you leave, and then you start a timer, and then let him cry for 10 minutes, and then you pop in for 20 seconds, and then you leave. And then you go to 15, and then it's 15 every time after that until they stop crying. And I was like, what if he never does? But he did. He stopped crying eventually. And then he only woke up one other time crying and cried for another hour and a half. And then he went back to sleep, not being fed. So with this plan, there was like a section of dropping night feedings, and then there was the sleep training. So we had both, like I mentioned. So the night feedings were weaned. So it started like, basically the concept is you don't feed when they cry. You have to make sure they're fully not crying and asleep, and then you wake them to feed, so that you're helping them disassociate feeding and sleeping. So he wouldn't think, oh, I have to cry to get food. He would think, I'm sleeping, my mom and dad come in and feed me, and they're gonna make sure that I'm fed. So that was a piece of it. Then every night you would feed less frequently and for shorter amounts of time. So that stopped pretty quickly, and by night 3, Sam was like, I don't think he even needs to eat. Like, I'm feeding him for like maybe 2 minutes. He doesn't even take 2 ounces. He's not hungry. He just wants the comfort. And so that was like the sleep crutch I mentioned. So we just decided all together to just drop the night feedings. Like, it was a 5-night process, I believe, to drop the night feeds. We did it in 3. So that was actually really reassuring that he could, you know, sleep without needing to be fed. Like, he wasn't hungry. Clearly. Night 1 was the most crying, and they did prepare us for that in the manual. They said, like, it's gonna be a lot, it's the hardest, but most parents report that they thought it would be harder than it was. I thought it would be hard. Sam said that it was hard, but it was like 2 hour-and-a-half sessions of crying, and that's it. So I'm like, really? That's not horrible. And he was able to sleep between that. So, yeah, honestly, not as bad as I would have expected. Night 2, pretty much the same thing. He cried, I think it was a little less, like he cried for like an hour both times. And then by like night 3, it was night and day difference. I think he was only waking up for like one or two times a night, and it was way less, like less than an hour. By night 4, he had dropped night feedings, and he woke up once and was like going back to sleep within a half an hour. So we would do the 5-minute pop in, the 10-minute pop in, and then he wouldn't even cry for the full 15 minutes. He would just go back to sleep. So it was like, wow, this is actually working. Like, it was super reassuring. Sam said even by night 2, it was reassuring that it was going to work and that he needed this push to just know we were gonna be consistent, we were still gonna pop in, we were still gonna be there. He wasn't alone, but that he could do it. And he needed to sense that we had the confidence in him to do it, which is again why I did not do it. Sam did it because I could not. I was not confident. I was so stressed. But once I heard, like every night I would come up from the basement and I'd be like, how bad was it? And Sam would be like, he only woke up once, or he only woke up twice and he was done. I was like, oh my gosh, it's working. Is it gonna work? I think it is. So super reassuring. By night 5, he was sleeping through the night, and Sam like was convinced the monitor had like shut off or like something wasn't working. He was like, is he still breathing? All the things that you think the first time your kid sleeps through the night. How? It worked. I knew it could, but I just was like convinced somehow in my brain that like it wouldn't work for us. Even though I had already done it with my daughter and it did work. I was like, it's a new method. We fed him to sleep for way too long. We started too late, yada, yada, yada. I was so relieved, and pretty much since then, he's been sleeping through the night. Now, granted, every kid is gonna have like bad days or bad sleep nights, just like we all do. Like, we sleep better some nights than others. Totally gonna happen for them. It's not like a cure-all. Like, they're never not gonna wake up again or whatever. Or they're not never gonna wake up again, I should say. But it worked. We were starting to like 12 hours. He would go to sleep at 7 and wake up between 6 and 7. So 11 to 12 hours is what you're shooting for with the plan. And it happened. Let me tell you guys. That is pretty much the gist of sleep training. It's gone super well. Oh, I was saying he has had some nights where he's woken up like once. We've still not been feeding at all. Like, that's done. There's no more feeding in the night. The kitchen's closed from 7 p.m. till 7 a.m. And I thought about keeping like 1, 5 a.m. or like 3 a.m. feed just because I have to wake up to pump, but I'm like, no, I'd rather him sleep and don't need to go there. I'll just wake up and pump, it's fine. He would like roll over and get really pissed because he couldn't roll back over, and I think that's because we were using the Dreamland sleep sack, which is weighted, and so it is kind of heavy and it's harder to turn over. But we ended up dropping that because I just wanted him to stop waking up, and I could tell it was just, he was crying because he couldn't figure out how to roll back over. And then now that we've just put him in like a fleece sleep sack, he's been doing fine. So I'm like, whatever. I don't even care that I spent $50 on that out of desperation to get him to sleep through the night. I don't care. I kind of care, but I'm gonna keep it because I might have another baby. Now I feel like I have to because I spent $50 on the sleep sack. I'm trying to justify it in my head still. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I was originally planning on doing a baby-led weaning video first, but I figured since we just sleep trained and it was like top of mind, and I had just done the video about their bedtime routine, that this was like a perfect transition and to just share like the latest, what's really going on in our lives. But I will do a baby-led weaning video. Something that you guys had mentioned wanting to see is like kind of like a house tour, or like when we go to our cabin, you guys have wanted to see the cabin, and this is just like the feedback I've been getting. So I'm thinking of doing like a house tour series and like showing basement as one and just different rooms in the house or whatever, any projects we're working on. Other than that, other content I have coming up is going to be the baby-led weaning video, since that's happening as we speak, we're starting solids with Sawyer. I'll do another day in the life. Those are just longer videos and a lot more editing involved, but they're really fun. I get it. I love watching day in the life videos too. Thank you guys for watching this video. I can't wait to start filming more about giving Sawyer some solids, but comment down below too if you sleep trained, what method that you used, and did it work for you? How quickly did it work? Let's get this video to like over 20,000 views. That's the most views I've gotten on my other day in the life video with 2 under 2, and like it's just blown up. Like I am like, where are these people coming from? So I would love to get more of my videos to that level. So please like, comment, share, subscribe, all the things. But anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.